Another day in paradise. Bonjour. Je m'appelle. I am a walking tour. Another walking tour from the Clyde side. And I'm going to go into some farmer's field, so if the farmer comes, I'm in trouble. But I want to show you this. This is, you don't get this on a guided walking tour, so I am going to give you a little kind of preview today. So we need to go off the beaten track. Literally. If I get caught doing this, the farmer is going to go crazy. So if you see a story about a person being attacked by a farmer, or you see a story about a sheepdog or a guard dog attacking someone, it is myself. But this is story. I like this story. And I do enjoy this this side of Lanarkshire. It does concern from the late 1600s, 1679 precise, during the killing times, when basically government troops were fighting rebels. So it is quite an interesting story, and basically a well-known murder took place on the field up here. So that is an interesting story. So we're going to go and visit that site today. But just need to get through this farmer's field. Just keep an eye on the old farmer. As a kid, the farmers were a massive problem, especially when you played in the old barns and the old haystacks and stuff like that. The farmers weren't really all too pleased, and used to chase you with their dogs. One time, the farmer even came out with a shotgun, and to a bunch of 10, 11-year-old kids, that was scary. You wouldn't get away with that now. The SWAT police would be on them in 5 seconds if they did that now, but it's 20 years ago, a lot different times. So just walk along this old path. Not a lot of people know this story, which is bizarre. I did find it in one of the old books that I found in some old charity shop. So it's one of those stories that basically it's hard to believe it ever actually happened, but it did. In the killing times, a lot of people died in the old killing times. And some old cows there. I don't know if that's barley or wheat. Some old shredded wheat. Let's just get along this path quickly before old MacDonald decides to come out his farm. That's not his actual name, by the way. That's just old MacDonald had a farm. Just in case you... Old MacDonald had a farm and seen some arsehole in the field, and he came out and shot that bum. Bum 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 bum. I am watching my steps as well, just in case there is any adders in this field. In case I get all bitten, I don't get any. You can see my trousers are fully they call them sticky willies, which sounds a bit crude, but that's literally what they call them. It's the green things that get stuck onto your trousers. So I don't mean to be crude, but that's what they call them. So during the killing times, there was a massive battle just way over the back there, at the Battle of Bothwell Bridge, where basically government troops started fighting a group called the Covenanters, who basically were rebels, and the government troops at the Battle of Bothwell Bridge, it was ferocious. along with really the whole kind of killing times period. Real kind of dark time in modern kind of UK history. It was a kind of lawless state almost. But there was a guy who basically was farming his field called Arthur Ingalls, and Arthur Ingalls had really nothing to do with the kind of rebels or the government troops, but just basically was just a farmer. And over there is still the main kind of motorway from Scotland to England, as you'll hear traffic way in the distance. But that was still the main road up from Scotland to England back in the day. And government troops coming back from the Battle of Bothwell Bridge were looking for local rebels, and there was a guy called Bloody Graham. So he's a nice guy, probably bring him around your house. But Bloody Graham was out looking for rebels and came across old Arthur Ingalls just up here, who was basically farming his field, and the government troops from the river line just there were basically seen this guy in the field, was wondering what the hell he was doing, and basically started shooting at him. Now Arthur Ingalls just thought that the government troops or whoever it was in the kind of far line were just basically shooting into thin air, or basically try to shoot rabbits or deer. He didn't actually know that they were shooting at him. So the government troops thought this guy was just being a wise ass, and decided just to come up into this field here and basically just sort this Arthur Ingalls out. And Arthur Ingalls was basically shot to death, and basically government troops just kind of mutilated his body, just to send a message out to him. It's getting pretty long grass here. I'll show you this. I'll show you where the actual murder took place. It's just up here. But basically the rebels had this guy, Arthur Ingalls. They made him a martyr. It was basically good propaganda for them after the Battle of Bothwell Bridge. They made him a martyr, saying that it was an innocent man killed by government troops from England, and made this guy a martyr. And there was a lot of propaganda. What happened was a lot of the rebels were after the defeat, were took back to Edinburgh and basically treated horribly. A lot were sent to the Americas as kind of slaves. A lot were just hung in Edinburgh or died of malnutrition because they just weren't fed. They were just no water, no food, and left to rot in a cage by the likes of kind of Bloody Graham. Arthur Ingalls was buried maybe about a mile or so from here, and people went, even up to the 1970s, people were still visiting his grave, but it was just about here that basically Arthur Ingalls was shot. This is right here on the ditch line. That's where he shot. So basically the government troops and Bloody Graham were shooting from a distance. There's the river down there away in the distance as well, just to show you where the river line is. But in Bothwell it's just a way in the distance, probably about 4 or 5 miles, but the River Clyde does follow the way up, and that's where the Arthur Ingalls was basically just farming his field. The local farmer did try, and I mean these trees are probably not the trees for the Arthur Ingalls stage, but there was an old oak where Arthur Ingalls died, and 200 years later somebody was going to cut it down, and they basically stopped them and said no, that's where the martyr fell. The martyr died here, and basically it was martyr land. So that's where old Arthur Ingalls was shot. I call him old. He was probably, I would dare say, he's probably in his 30s. I wouldn't think he was that old. But that was in the late 1600s. That old Arthur Ingalls was put to death, shall we say. I do love this part of the woods as well. There is a kind of massive dog graveyard. People do just bury their dogs here. That's a beautiful view, right enough, but apart from the sewage works over there, of course. But that's for whatever reason, there's loads of kind of dog graveyards here. For whatever reason, dogs' graves. But there's the old ditch line, which maybe Arthur Ingalls' family kind of dug out to kind of get the water away from the fields. It does look kind of man-made. Don't see why that would just pop out of nowhere. But there you have it. Still old farmland. Right, I better get out of here before the old farmer decides to make me the next Arthur Ingalls and start shooting me. So, sayonara, and I'll see you next time.